Have you ever wondered what points clients take into account when they're going to hire an interpreter, either OPI or VRI? If so, well, I have 10 pros and cons of OPI and VRI, all from a client's perspective.
Tune in as Interpret Your World's co-founder, Juan Prieto, talks about the highlights of his workday as a professional medical video remote interpreter. If you are aspiring to learn something new and gain insight into what the world of medical interpretation is really like, then you've come to the right place. Follow along as Juan talks not only about his success, but the daily challenges he has to overcome to become a better interpreter each and every day. This is Unwind Sessions with Juan Prieto.
So hello guys, today is Friday, September 3rd, 2021, and today I took a total of 29 sessions. I was a mix between VRI and OPI. Today I did take a VRI that was a little bit over an hour, so it's always nice to have those long sessions. And I believe that besides a new term that I learned today, I believe that is the only highlight. And I know you're wondering about the glasses, right? Well, let me tell you, I'm just showing off my glasses because I just got them in the mail. And these babies are some blue light blocking glasses. I didn't ask for them. The company that I work for just sent them with a wellness kit. So something special, right? Making me feel special. So I just had to show these very cool glasses to you guys, right? It makes me feel like if I was a ghetto, I forgot my joke. I can't believe it. That is horrible. All right. Okay, I remember it. I might look like a ghetto Lex Luthor that's trying to impersonate a Clark Kent, right? They're like, no, I am totally Clark Kent. What do you mean I'm Lex Luthor, right? So, pretty awesome, pretty awesome. They probably realized that I have an old computer which doesn't have the ability to block blue light, so they probably got me those glasses, and they got me some pretty good stuff, so I'm just showing it off to you. The perks of working for, I don't like saying the name of the company that I work for. So if you guys want some free glasses from your interpretation company, send me an email and I'll give you that info. By the way, you need 2 years of medical interpretation experience that you can prove. Just in case you're interested, they're hiring OPI and VRI. OPI is less pay, and I believe they're hiring in the USA, Costa Rica, and Mexico, if I am not mistaken. They're hiring right now, so if you guys are looking for a nice job, give me a shout out. I'll give you all of that information through the mail. So now that that's over with, right? Now that you got to see my nerd looking side, right? And let me tell you something, I really dislike glasses. When I was in like the 4th grade, I had to wear glasses, but I never wore them because I didn't like them. I just left them in the desk at school or at home, and I was always seeing everything all blurry. It was not until I was able to purchase myself some contact lenses, which I am wearing today. Not the same contact lenses that I purchased back then, right? These are brand new lenses that I probably opened like 2 days ago. So I was able to get my contact lenses, and I just forgot about glasses. And I have my pair of eyeglasses, but I don't wear them except for an emergency, right? Whenever I run out of contacts, or when my eyes get too irritated from the contact lenses, I wear them. But I don't know. I mean, I've never worn this kinds of glasses. I like the more discreet, the ones that have like the little thing that don't have like this stuff. I don't know. But I mean, hey, I think I look very weird with it. But anyways, they're gonna save my eyes, right? So I am probably gonna wear them whenever I'm doing my homework on my old computer. All right, on my own computer, but that's the only. I own two laptops, and both laptops are from 2000. Well, one's from 2013, the other one is from 2014. So they don't have that blue light thing. So those glasses are gonna save my life, honestly. So enough chit chat, right? What is the new word that I learned today? The following definition comes from emedicine.medscape.com, and the new term that I learned today was nervio trigeminal, which I had to look up, and it turns out to be trigeminal nerve in English. So trigeminal nerve is the largest and most complex of the 12 cranial nerves. It supplies sensations to the face, mucous membranes, and other structures of the head. It is the motor nerve for the muscles of mastication and contains proprioceptive fibers. I have no idea what that word is, proprioceptive. But well, it's one of the major nerves, and that just came up. I didn't get an explanation for it, what it was or anything. They asked the patient, the patient's wife, if he had any problems, and the lady said that he had a very big trigeminal nerve impairment. So that was all that was said. The doctor just moved on and didn't ask anything else about it. So I know as much as you guys do now. But it's just like the nerve that supplies the stuff and the nerve that allows you to chew stuff. So very, very important nerve. All right, and that was pretty much it. Can you believe it? 29 sessions in just one thing. Well, yes, I do believe it. All right. Before I get to the main part of today's video, I have to let you know that from yesterday's video, I forgot to mention something. There is such a thing as interpreters that get hired to like interpret speeches and do consecutive interpreting. Like a person might give them a speech, right? And then they might tell them, all right, this is a job assignment. I'm gonna give a speech and I'm gonna talk in like 10-minute segments, and then right after I'm done talking, you're gonna get your turn to go ahead and interpret. And those interpreters get paid more, of course, because it's more demanding. Can you imagine like having to accurately read back like 10 minutes of speech or even more? I couldn't, honestly. That just goes beyond the scope of my abilities. Maybe there's good pay. I might be eager to go for it and try it and increase my skills, but no, I think I'll stay away from it. It just seems so terrifying. But of course, if this ever happens, of course they're gonna let you know, because this is something special. It's not like they're gonna hire you. It might, right? But for the most part, it's not like they're gonna hire you and then you get there and then it's like, or they call you, right? VRI, OPI, whatever, or in person, and then all of a sudden you get there and then they tell you this, right? And they have told me this once, and of course I said no. It was a session from FedEx, and they were doing like a meeting, and they told me, can I just give the whole meeting, and then you can just go ahead and interpret afterwards? And I told him no, there was no way I was going to do that. And then he said, well, all right, I'm going to be talking, and then I'm going to be talking a lot, he said, and then I'm going to give you a chance to interpret, because there's just no way that we can do this as a regular session. And I agreed. I was like, okay, let's do it. But I completely said no to that assignment. as that like they wanted it in the beginning, because I knew I couldn't do it, so I just didn't want to do a lousy job. And the segments that were given to me in that assignment were a little bit longer for my liking. There were some omissions that I admit to, but it was a very, very good learning experience for me. Now I know that if that ever happens, I'm just getting out of there. No, I'm not doing it. Right? It's just not something that I'm prepared for, not something that I have trained for, and that session just made me see that. So if you guys are thinking about increasing your interpret like segments that you can interpret the length, it might be worth looking into trying to get a job into that. It might be interesting for you, and some of you will probably be very good at it. All right, and that's just something that I wanted to add from yesterday's video, something that I forgot to mention. All right, so let's get to it. This is going to be 10 OPI and 10 pros and cons of OPI and VRI from a client's perspective. All right, so just to start off, let's start off with OPI. So 10 pros for OPI. Pro number one, it is cheaper than VRI and in person. And this is definitely something, price is something that clients are going to consider big time. So you might be inclined to say that there are probably much more over the phone interpreters available out there in the market than VRIs or in persons, right? Because since it's cheaper, there is going to be much more of a demand for it. And there's a lot of industries, like for example companies, right? Credit card companies, billing companies, insurance companies, all of these things, they don't necessarily require an in-person interpreter or a VRI interpreter, right? They can just do it over the phone. So OPI is definitely cheaper than VRI and in person. So this is a top choice for a lot of industries. All right, number two, it only requires a landline phone or cell phone in some cases. And that is one of the wonderful things about OPI, right? If you have a landline phone or you have a cell phone, then for the most part, you have access to OPI interpretation. All you have to do is you have to you have to call the company, right? And you have to let them know. And I don't know, I've never done it, I've never been a client. This is just me imagining that this is how you do it, right? You call up a company and you tell them that you're gonna require the services. They probably give you like a login or something, and that's it. You can call up on just a landline phone and put in your password, and voila, you have unlocked a whole world of a whole plethora of languages for interpretation. That's all that it needs. And it doesn't even need to be a landline phone, right? It can be a cell phone as well. So that is something that is awesome about OPI, and something that is definitely on the top of clients' lists, right? The ease of use of this. Another pro is that it requires less equipment than VRI, right? Because VRI, it requires a device and a good internet, right? This doesn't. You can get away with just a regular cell phone and a landline. Doesn't even need to be a smartphone. Another thing is that there's a lot of languages available 24/7. There are some languages that you need to make appointments for, but for the most part, all of the major languages and everything 24/7 is guaranteed with most companies. Number 5, this is available on demand. The moment that you need an interpreter, you have it. You just call up the interpreter, and the interpreter is there to give you his service, right? And there's a lot of interpreters in those companies, so you're definitely gonna get service. Another thing is that it works as a last minute backup for a missed in-person appointment. You have an appointment, your in-person interpreter is behind, maybe he's not going to be able to make it. Anything can happen, right? Nothing is guaranteed in this life. So let's say the in-person interpreter is not going to be there and you have this appointment, you have your client waiting there, you just call up your phone interpreter and boom, you have yourself an interpreter. And if your in-person interpreter shows up, you can always tell them, oh, I'm sorry, my in-person interpreter is already here, we no longer need your services, right? Like they do. Another thing, number 7, is that you pay for the minute. If your interpreter only interprets for 8 minutes, that's it. You don't have to pay anything else. I think there is a minimum, or some companies don't have a minimum, so it is much cheaper than in person, because for in person you have to pay a minimum of 2 hours for the most part. I think that's what in-person interpreters ask for. Number 8, the interpreter is not physically there. So in times of COVID, especially in the hospital, this reduces the risks of infections big time. Number 10 is confidentiality, because what's more confidential than the interpreter not being able to see both the client and the Spanish speaker, right? The LEP. So, or LEP, yeah, not Spanish speaker, because he could speak any language, right? So confidentiality. And number 10 is you don't need, for the most part, most languages do not need an appointment. If you are going to need an interpreter for like a really rare dialect, like a Mayan dialect, or I don't know, some sort of a really rare dialect, then you will need to make an appointment. But for the most part, most languages are available 24/7. No need to make an appointment at all. Like, you know, in person, you need to make an appointment with the in-person interpreter. Over here, no. It's just you call, you get the service. All right. On the cons is that the client is not able to see the interpreter and the interpreter cannot see them. So the interpreter is going to not be able to pick up on many visual cues that might aid him in giving a much better and detailed interpretation, matching tone, just everything from body and face expressions, right? That is no. You're not gonna get that. Number 2 is that because of the nature of these sessions, the call might disconnect and there might also be a bad reception. So all of those things are going to make the session not flow as well, right? If the call gets disconnected, then you're gonna have to call another interpreter, and unless you're the luckiest person in the world, the interpreter that picks up is not going to be the same interpreter that was there before. And like, if you love the other interpreter, this interpreter might not be the same. I hope all the interpreters are great, but I cannot guarantee that. Another bad reception too, like echo, all kinds of stuff can go wrong. You're not able to hear the patient sounds far away. All kinds of stuff. Bad receptions are bad, and they are going to mess up the flow of the session or completely wipe it out. There can be no session because of a bad reception. Number 3 is that is only for voice interpreters, right? There is no way that you're gonna use an OPI interpretation to do sign language, for example. Number 4 is that it might require a speakerphone or a dual receiver phone for a successful session, right? Because imagine just passing the phone back and forth, and I've had to do that, and it's bad, honestly. The person says something, and then let me put the other person on, and then you're interpreting for the other person, but then the other person's not hearing you, and then after 10 minutes the other person gets on. Oh, hello. And it's like, sir, did you hear anything of what I said? Oh, no. Can you please repeat that? And it's like, oh, man. And then sometimes you forget that they're talking on the phone, and then it's like you're interpreting. They talk, and then you start interpreting right away, right? Because that's what you're used to. And then they tell, oh, no, hold on. I knew past the phone. So, and yeah, I really hate that. So having a speakerphone or a dual receiver phone is most likely the way to go. Another thing is that it gets hard to interpret for more than 2 people, especially because the interpreter will not be able to see all of the people, so he might not know what the conversation he should interpret, right? If there's a lot of people and people are having like their own little conversations, or somebody talks in the background, the interpreter might take that as he needs to interpret that, and he might get confused on what's going on. And that's happened to me in hospitals a lot. Number 6 is most companies do not allow you to work with the same interpreter each time. There are some that they're nice enough to allow that, right? You have a good interpreter, you love the interpreter, and you want to get the interpreter as much as you can because you know he's going to do a good job, and they allow it. But most companies, they don't. So if you love an interpreter, good luck trying to get that interpreter again. All right, number 7, some background noise might make the session impossible. This has happened to me right when the pandemic started. It was because they were putting air pressure into the rooms. I do not know why they did that, but they were putting air pressure into the rooms, and there was a very loud machine in there that didn't allow me to hear, and this happened for like 3-4 sessions. So that just made it impossible. And sometimes the background noise is just too bad that you're not going to be able to have a session. Number 8, it might be impossible to use for some hard of hearing clients. This happens a lot. Sometimes they tell you, can you speak louder, and you're screaming down there at the phone, right, or at the headset, and the people just can't hear you because, well, they're almost completely deaf, right? And the little speaker is never going to be as loud, or can never get as loud as the voice gets. Even if the voice on the other side is yelling, the speaker can only do so much. So that is a very big limitation of OPI. Number 9, this requires a line or internet, right? If you have OPI, well, you only require the interpreter, but you don't require any equipment at all. You only need to schedule an appointment, get an interpreter there on time, right? So a lot of things that can be cons as well for in-person interpretation. Another thing that I didn't mention, that this goes to the call might disconnect, is that with in-person interpretation, it's not like they're gonna drop the session, right? So that's something to consider. All right, number 10, it requires a wired phone or cell phone, and some companies do not allow other devices. There are some companies that allow OPI that have apps, but for the most part, most companies don't have OPI apps. Like, you can't open it on a computer or a tablet, and you will require a cell phone or a wired phone. So that is it. That was the 10 cons, and let me get to the 10 pros for VRI. So pro number 1, it feels more personal because you can see the interpreter, and the interpreter will be able to see you. So that just speaks for itself, right? Video, you can see each other, so it just feels more close, more personal, warmer touch, right? Number two, you can use a sign language interpreter, something that is impossible to do with OPI, right? Number three is that it's cheaper than in person. Of course, it's not cheaper than OPI, but it's still a good option, which is cheaper than in person. Number four, the same. You can use it as a backup for a missed in-person appointment. All you have to do is dial up your VRI, and he is going to be there the moment you need him. Number five is the same as OPI. You pay per minute, so it's cost effective, right? You get an interpreter for 15 minutes. That's all that you have to pay, not a penny more. The interpreter is not physically there, so reducing the risk of infections. This is available on demand for most languages, major languages like Portuguese, Spanish, Arabic, Mandarin, Tagalog. I think it's another dialect in Chinese, right? Well, all those Chinese languages, I think there's like 3. And I don't know what other language. I already said Portuguese, Spanish, English. Well, of course English, right? Arabic, and some Chinese no. Well, the major language is Mandarin, Tagalog, and I don't know what else. But for the most part, the major languages, they are available 24/7 VRI, but a little bit more less demanded languages might not be available for most companies 24/7. You would have to make an appointment for that. Number 8 is the interpreter can pick up on visual cues, right? And the client will be able to pick up on visual cues from the interpreter. So this will probably make the interpreter give more accurate interpretations because he's going to be seeing the person, right? He can pick up on visual clues, like if they have to do something with a nail and they point to the toes, they know, the interpreter will know they're talking about the toenails, right? So that's always something nice. Number 9 is the same, no need for appointments. You just call your interpreter sorry, as long as it's a major language, and he is going to be there. Number 10 is that some companies allow text on screen from the interpreters, right? Sometimes a doctor has told me, oh, I need to write something down, a note for the patient. Can you write this down for me? And then I just write it down on the screen. It appears on the screen. The doctor can just write it down, and voila, they got their professional interpretation without the need to mess it up with Google Translate, right? And that is it. That was the 10 pros. So let's go to the 10 cons. The 10 cons is the same session might disconnect. You might get a bad connection. Number 2, some languages might only be available during certain schedules. Number 3, this is more expensive than OPI. Number 4, it requires some sort of device like a cell phone, tablet, or computer, right? So if you don't have any of those 3, for the most part everybody has a cell phone, but if you don't have those 3, there is no way you're gonna get a VRI session. It might require an external speaker if the speakers to the device are too quiet. This is a problem that happens a lot with some cell phones. So something to keep in mind for clients is that they might need to add an extra speaker if they hope to get a successful session on quiet devices. Number 6, satellite and antenna internet might cause interruptions in the session, and only wired internet connections are suggested or supported. Number 7, most companies don't allow to work with the same interpreter each time, something that I've already mentioned. Number 8, it might be impossible to use for some hard of hearing clients. I've already mentioned that with OPI. Number 9, it might not be the best for interpreting for more than 2 people. I've had the same problems that I mentioned in OPI happen in VRI because you're not able to see everyone, right? Sometimes you're only limited to like this field of view right here, right? And in my company it's like this. So if there's more than 2 people and they're not on the screen, it gets hard. And number 10, it requires high-speed internet from all parties. If one party has a bad internet, good luck trying to get through that session. That is just not going to happen. So there you go. I hope this list was helpful. I wanted to do this list because the other day I did the 10 pros and cons of OPI and VRI, but from my perspective, from an interpreter perspective. And I thought it would be nice just to flip it, and look at this from a client's perspective. That way it can also give you another perspective, right? If you're trying to make a choice whether going VRI or OPI, which are the two options that I have given in this case. So that is going to be pretty much it for me today. Remember that I am here every Monday through Friday after work. Please leave your questions in the comments and I will answer some of them on the next session. All right, and remember that we have a Patreon page for as little as $1 of your support. You help to motivate us to create much more content, and we give you access to everything on the page. All the medical practice videos ad-free, scripts, answer sheets, vocabulary lists, and much more content. And most importantly, you will forever win a place inside of our heart. All right, so we love all of our Patreons. We love all of our subscribers, everyone that has bought us a coffee. We love you too, and we love you that is watching the end of this video. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so for much more content, and don't forget to share. Happy interpreting. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Unwind Sessions. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. And if you learned something new today, it'd be great if you left us a review. You can also visit us on patreon.com/interpretyourworld or visit our website, interpretyourworld.com. Unwind Sessions.
If you like this video, don't forget to smash that like button. Also, share this video with other beginner interpreters or anyone who can benefit from this information. Thank you all so much for all the support you guys have given us. This means the world to us. Don't forget, we also have social media. We have a Facebook group and a Facebook page. We also have an Instagram and the one I love the most, TikTok. We just recently got a Buy Me a Coffee, and also, if you guys didn't already know, we do have a Patreon account. If you guys would like to support us a little more, we'd love to have you guys over there. And as always, I will be posting all the links to these pages down below in the description box. Thanks for watching!